Welcome. I am so glad to be with you today. And I have a really juicy topic that I am excited about. And that topic is from A Course in Miracles, Beyond All Idols, text 30. And it says, idols are quite specific, but your will is universal, being limitless. And so it has no form, nor is content for its expression in the term of form. Idols are limits. They are the belief that there are forms that will bring happiness, and that by limiting is all attained. It's as if you said, I have no need of everything. That goes on. And the words, I think, are a little bit hard to understand, even though there aren't any hard words in here. But I want to tell you why I came upon this and what it offers me, and I hope you, in this conversation. So recently, I think is yesterday, I was with a group and we gather to talk about oneness, glimpses of awakening, non-duality, and we do meditation and discussion. And I have been more and more radicalized as time goes on, and have become more and more daring to speak the truth as clearly as I understand it, no matter how unpopular it may be received. And the topic came up about individual responsibility. Course is very clear about that. Everything that happened to you is just as you wanted it, and so on, just as you would have had it received. And so there are so many places in the Course where opposites are spoken. And I've had a little difficulty talking about that because the non-dual speaks of oneness. And A Course in Miracles speaks of oneness. And then in almost probably all of my talks, I've mentioned how the Course then doubles back and speaks as though we're separate. And this morning it came to me two parts that are so important. Why does the Course do that? What is it? Double speak? Is it levels? I know people say levels, but you don't actually get from one level to the next in a certain way. So let me tell you what I mean by that. If I believe that my job is mind training, and I need to train myself, or I need to have Holy Spirit train me, or God needs to take my mind so that I remove the attack thoughts, which is equal to forgiveness. Well, I'll be busy the rest of my life. And there's a personal I that does that. Who else has attack thoughts but a person? And yet the Course says there never was a body. The body's not real, and it never was. All right, so I don't have a body, but I have attack thoughts. So this small mind that's considered the ego has these attack thoughts, but we're told the ego isn't real either. So you can go round and round. I'm not sure. I've never observed, and others have inquired. Does anybody ever get done with these attack thoughts or forgiveness exercises? Well, when we're in oneness, there are no attack thoughts. There is just oneness. There's no others. There's sameness, as our friend Dove likes to tell us. It's equality. But here's what I came upon today, two really major things. Why does the course double speak? It speaks to individuals, gives us exercises, tells us how to improve ourselves, and then tells us we never were a body. There is no ego. So that means there's nothing to improve. Forget everything. Lesson 189. Come with holy, empty arms onto the God of your understanding, onto oneness. So here's what I came up with today. Because of idols, the personal self is an idol. No wonder we don't want to hear. There's grief in the room if I say there isn't a personal self. I feel it too. You know, as bad as I think I've been, as lacking and as whatever words you want to use in the past. I don't use those words anymore. I have residues, moments of the old self who believe these things, but I don't actually name them as unworthiness and so on, because I'm not claiming that. And that makes no sense. If I'm not a person, I can't be unworthy. So the good news from non-duality is that there are no personal selves. And I know I'm dragging it out, but why does the Course do this? Because it's speaking to us on different levels, and because of the amount of suffering we come to when we find the Course. So first, the Course tells us that we can be a better you, a better I. We can be more loving. And that the Course shows us that we can feel a whole lot better when we treat our brother as ourselves. But it's a concession to suffering. And because the Course understands that nobody's ever gone from this degree of self-hate, or maybe they have, but it's not usual. Most people need a gradual process. So going from an extreme degree of self-hatred, which we all carry before we transform into the love, into the knowing. We don't actually transform. We just transform our belief in our unacceptability. We always have been. We just didn't know it. That is so the good truth, the happy truth, that there's nothing to do. The Course tells us there's nothing to do. And then it tells us to keep forgiving and choose again and mind training and the lessons and on and on and on. So out of a concession to this separate self, and as a concession to suffering, the Course gives us all of these steps to feel better. And then what I'm noticing is that there are many, many people that are feeling better, but they're not feeling worthy yet. And they're still feeling separate, but kind of less separate because they have practices in which they can connect. And so they fill up as much as possible with the practices to connect. But what's at the bottom of this? Maybe it's a belief in idolatry. And this is not the only place that the Course talks about idols. But here's an interesting sentence right in the middle of the discussion of idols. It says your will is universal, being limitless. What if we just took that sentence today? Instead of a little willingness is what's often quoted, and then somewhere else it says actually you need a lot of willingness. But here it's saying your will is limitless and universal. So we don't have to worry about being a separate self. That's just a belief. A belief, like Dove says, it's a lie, L-I-E in the middle of belief. Truth is always true. Who relaxes being a separate self? Not me. When I have a belief in a separate self, I'm defensive, I'm trying. I'm usually feeling that there's something lacking. Let's take that belief in a separate self together. Let's gather all of us together, all of these separate selves. And let's just relax. Let's do nothing. Take your concern for your separate self. Give it a number for today. How concerned have you been about yourself? Let's give that a number. Oh, I got a number. Okay. Now, let's take that number and allow that number to float. You know how you get a number in some inexpensive restaurants and, they put it on the table? Well, let's put that number on the table inside our bodies and let it float on through like a little sail ship in the bathtub. Let this number just float on through. Let's have a little humor today, just a little lightness and silliness. We have a number of our special self floating on through our bodies. We'll come back to that number later. And take the preciousness of yourself and just give it a big hug. I know most of the time you think, oh, I don't even like myself. I need improvement here. I need improvement there. I was mean to that one. I was ungenerous there. I grabbed stuff from myself there. I felt I was lacking there. I didn't see with the eyes of Christ over there. And let's take all of those silliness. In non-duality, we do not concentrate on the thoughts. The thoughts we consider the nothingness because they come and go. They don't last. Can you remember what you thought at breakfast? Unless it was some catastrophe on the news or some impending doom or great news that you got from somewhere else. Or maybe you got it from the scale, and so you're in a bad mood or a good mood if you're one of those scale people that weigh your worth on the scale. But otherwise, nobody remembers what they thought at breakfast. It's come and gone. So truly, why does the Course ask us to do mind training? Perhaps it's giving us something to do until we recognize with our hearts the oneness that's always been true. If we were willing to give up our unworthiness, oh, you say, you're always trying to get rid of that. Actually, maybe not. Maybe you're trying to control it. Let out a certain amount of good and not so much bad, as though you're not only the idol of yourself, you're the king of yourself. Let's just be kind and funny and just relax and let it all go. Just for this second, just for the next second. Let's allow our whole bodies to float from the water that's within us. It's as though we're in an inner tube of life. Let's imagine that our bodies are that inner tube and we're being inflated with the oxygen and the carbon dioxide exchange. And we're floating instead of walking through life. Why not? And we can go to the galaxies and we can go to the sky. We don't have to go by any earthly rules because we're not separate people. So we don't have to go by gravity. We don't have to go with logic. We can just be. You know how trees float, branches float in the breeze. They move back and forth. I guess you wouldn't say ordinarily float, but today everything's floating for me. The trees and the flowers and the insects and the bugs and the birds, they just exchange happily, willingly, with all. We can do that too. We can use our lives like the story of King Lear that Rupert Spira uses. We can be the playful ones that go and play whatever the movie of our lives is. The movie of David, the movie of Rosalind, the movie of Lynn, the movie of Joan, the movie of Mark, the movie of John. They're all different movies. And we can use our will, our infinite will, to locate ourselves within any of the parts and fully play the part and still know who we are. If we're nothing, no thing, and no thing is made up of everything. Lynn Johnson can explain that to you. Luckily, we have a scientist aboard. We need do nothing to know we're everything, and everything is nothing. And the minute we want to be something, we're like the train that's off the track. We're going to be stuck. Our motor's going to back up. A train that's off the track won't slide, won't move well. And that's us. When we've forgotten who we are. I find it more useful to say what we are, because who brings up character traits? And that brings up character flaws and a desire to have hubris, and we have none because we have only false hubris, the hubris that we're so bad. We could have contests about who's the worst and who's done the most evil. Maybe we wouldn't all win in action, but we would in motivation. But that doesn't matter. It's like, what did you eat for breakfast? It's gone. We don't need to pay attention to it. Same with our feelings. That doesn't mean you let out your feelings and hurt people. If that's what you're to do, you'll do it. But it's nobody's intention. And if it is, then that's their movie. But it won't make you a mean person if you're not watching your thoughts and your feelings and monitoring. You have every desire to bloom as the flower that you are. Maybe even more, because you're not going to be held down by these negative criticisms. I'm excited for all of us. Let's come back into the room. Let's come back into the movies of our lives. What are the roles that you're going to pick up? What if you imagine today that you are God? You are, you know. That's the only meaning of God that makes any sense with A Course in Miracles and non-duality. God is what you are. You don't have to make yourself smaller. You are the unlimited that is temporarily located in a body. And if we hold that body as what the Course says in chapter 30, where we are limitless, we can be happy, meaning lacking nothing. Without doing. And what do we mean by doing? We will still take action no matter what. But when we are being lived, we will move. And that's very much not a doing. It's not me pushing Rosalind into the world to do the list. It probably can't be done anyway, but we imagine we're doing it. So if the truth is that we're being lived even when we have a different story going on. Now that to me is really good news, because nothing needs to change except my beliefs, my stories that I'm making up. Do I need to practice? Course in Miracles says the lessons we do. Nonduality says practice is not necessary unless you love it, because you're not getting anywhere. You don't need to practice in order to be or get anything. But if you are praying, meditating, reading, and enjoying that connection, for sure, enjoy. Something to think about. If it's another self-improvement, you might consider giving yourself the freedom or not. I don't want to go against the rule book, but the rule book says different things, different places, because the rule book is ever so kind. It knows that we're like the little toddler walking along. I thought of this last week. We're like the little toddlers that walk along and hold the wall. And the belief is that we need to hold the wall in order to stand up. But actually, that's just a belief. It doesn't make it true. Unless there's something specifically untoward with a certain child, when they are walking around holding the wall, holding the furniture, holding people's legs, it's just a belief that they are unsteady and can't stand. They are already standing and they have the ability to walk, but they don't know it. Is it bad? No. Is it wrong? No. Is it correct? No. What if we already had everything we need to be one with the one? What does it take to be one with the one? I say it takes only one thing. It doesn't take a perfect body. It doesn't take what we call a perfect life, lots of money, beautiful looks, athletic, big house, small house, whatever it is you think is better. It only takes yes to what is. Yes to what is brings perfect peace. Does yes to what is mean I agree? No. Your opinion isn't asked. Yes to what is means in this second, this is what's happening. So if it's storming and there's a hurricane, and I say yes to the hurricane, it means I do the appropriate things to protect the house and to protect our family. It doesn't mean I agree with hurricanes. My opinion is not necessary, relevant, even useful. Actually, it's really not useful. We usually have an opinion, but it's not useful because it takes us off the yes. Yes is only to what has just happened. We get so scared that we're saying yes to racial discrimination or something awful, child abuse. We're just saying it happened and we're recognizing it. And there's a new second to say yes to that might be a different story. So, would you join me in noticing your yeses and noticing your contractions? And experiment. See if there's any truth to what I just said. See if you are finding more peace when you have some more yeses. Until next time. Mwah. Thank you for joining me. Bye-bye.